Welcome to another video in the Names of God series, and we are moving on to our 7th name, and we are looking tonight at Yahweh Nissi, which most people recognize as meaning the Lord is my banner, or the Lord is our banner. As you went through your study, you would have also found that it means conqueror or victor. And so really this name of God is really tied in with just a military type meaning. And we see this story happen, and you guys dug into that as you completed your study book. We see this happen as the Israelites are going out to fight the very first battle that they ever encounter, their military campaign to take their promised land. And on the scene, very first thing, the very first battle, God orchestrates everything so that He shows them that He is the one who is going to be able to bring victory to them. And Shelley, you know me, I love to look for detail in every story. I always am writing and explaining in the studies that I believe that every detail in that Bible is there on purpose, down to the smallest detail. God included it because if we want to sit on it and camp out there for a little bit, He is going to be able to teach us something from it. And I couldn't help but just kind of pondering over the details that we see in this battle, specifically where we see Moses up on the mountain while Joshua is leading the battle, the actual fighting, and the scriptures record that as long as Moses had his hands raised, the battle would go in favor of the Israelites. And as soon as Moses got weary, I think the scriptures say that he became weary, his arms would come down and suddenly the battle would turn in favor of the enemy. And you know, in my mind and the way that I look and begin to question, I couldn't help but wonder and question what that significance might be. And what is God trying to teach me personally, or a lesson that I can take to apply to my life today? Because of course I'm not engaged in military battle, but we are engaged continually in spiritual battle. And what can that mean for me in the spiritual battles that I encounter? And I couldn't help but think about praise and how important that might be.
I think that in this symbolism of Moses' hands in the air, arms in the air, I think that that's a universal symbol to me of praise and of surrender. And I think that this is a perfect example of when Moses' arms were in the air, the victory was on the side of the Israelites. Because they were surrender. Moses was in surrender to God. And I think that in our life, whenever we allow that surrender to be in our life, and we allow our praise to be our focus, then that's how we get the victory. That's how we gain the victory. And God is our banner in that way, because we've got His name is raised in our life, so to speak.
And you know what? This is not the only incident in Scripture where we see that same theme kind of display itself. What comes to mind to me is also the Battle of Jericho, where we would expect, of course, when God takes control and His plans are always befuddling to us, but in that situation we see Him tell His children to walk around the walls of that city, and while they did, they were praising. Well, they were quiet at first, but then the ultimate victory came when they lifted their voices in praise to Yahweh. And other times, in Scripture, we see that praise and victory are tied hand in hand. And like you said, I think it's so important, and you were correct in saying that it all has to do with our focus. Because when we do praise, and we praise with intentionality, when we're sincere in our praise, we can't help but be reminded and see how great and powerful our God is. And when we do that, those doubts, of course, subside, and it affects how we look at things, and that in itself sometimes, like you said, Shelley,
is
is
what
the
brings
victory.
victory.
Exactly.
Right.
And every small victory of just the mental battle that we face culminates,
Right.
with an actual victory over that situation.
Right.
And I agree. I love that symbolism in this story and how it can definitely tie into praise.
Yes. I think that just having that surrender in your life and knowing that if you've got your hands busy worshiping and praising God, that you can't have your hands down devising your own plans for victory or trying to work it out on your own, but you've got your hands up in surrender to God, saying, you know what, God, I know that you are my provider. I know that you are all sufficient, and I want to raise you up as my banner. And I think that that's what's so neat about these stories, is that our hands up in surrender, or any kind of worship in our mouth, that's what brings the victory.
Absolutely. And like you just said, you brought up several of the names of God that we have been studying. I love how they just build on each other, and every single one of them is related and intertwined, and that's, I guess, what I would expect if I really thought about it, because God is one.
Right.
And so even though we're studying out these specific ways that He presents Himself, it's just so inspiring to see that they are all, you can't divide them, because He is just one God, and He encompasses all of these things. So, all right. Well, thank you, and thank you to you on the other side of that screen. We are so honored to be able to have you join in with us and study alongside us. We thank God for you. Blessings.